Markets at all-time highs seem to be pricing in odds of what his administration would mean economically speaking. You think that that's appropriate?
Yes, I think it's actually been happening for a while, as the polls have been showing that Donald Trump looked like he would win over a Biden matchup. And I think, yes, a lot of those stocks have been pricing that in. I think, as you earlier guests have said, Kelly, particularly the political professors, anything can change in politics. And one of the biggest mistakes you can make in Washington, I'm a lifelong Washingtonian, is to get too Malthusian about these political conclusions and project too far from today. But overall, I think, yes, it certainly looks like those stocks in the financials and other areas, I think healthcare, other areas are poised to continue to strength from a Trump victory.
Wait, did you say health? You think healthcare would have strength in that case?
Yes, I actually do. I don't think you're going to see an overregulated environment. I think you could see fairness, but you're going to see a pro-business and lower regulation. And I don't think healthcare is going to take the drubbing others think it will.
That's true. No, I like the way you're coming at that, because lately we've seen the Biden administration obviously go quite strongly against some of the healthcare stocks. And they would argue maybe curbing their future profitability and so forth. Jamie, what about you?
Well, I think it's pretty obvious that you're going to see a lot of defense spending. I mean, you want to own stocks that have large dollar-based revenues like BAE Aerospace or Lockheed Martin. I think that's going to be a big focus of the administration. I think from the political standpoint, the jury's still out on whether or not you get a Republican sweep. I mean, there's definitely some trouble with some House Republicans. The map is not perfect for them. I think the Senate definitely goes Republican. It seems like the White House is going to go. But unless you get a Republican sweep, it's going to be very difficult to get tax policy in its current form passed. You're going to need to do it through reconciliation next year. And in that backdrop, there's going to be a completely different set of circumstances. So a lot of people need to be careful about conflating what's going on today with the dollar and causing some, issues with with bonds and things like that, and making sure they don't forget that is a very, very long way before, any of these policies could be enacted. Also, it's also important to think about what people are talking about with inflation. It's not like the Biden administration hasn't had its own bout with inflation to deal with, and there's probably not going to be a lot of difference with Trump. So if you're, selling off the long end of the curve, thinking that, inflation is going to run away, maybe you're thinking about it in sort of black and white terms. It's way more nuanced than that. And so I think there's a little bit of that going on. But I like healthcare, too. I like the health insurers best. I think the regulatory environment under Trump will be better for the Medicare-focused insurers, United Healthcare, Humana. Those are pretty obvious choices if you're thinking about what a Trump administration will look like in those sectors.
It's interesting. Also want to highlight that Fed Chair Powell, in the interview he was just giving an hour ago, talked about the ability to cut rates. He also, Michael, talked about his concerns about the deficit. He's mentioned this before, high deficit, high level of debt. Both of you are highlighting this as well. And because we're talking about what potentially the continuation of those tax cuts or whatnot would mean in that case, Michael Farr, I don't know if there's any way to directly draw a line between those concerns and what that would mean for markets. I mean, you think on the margin it might be good for stocks because if it means more inflationary pressure, stocks are priced in, you can kind of get to a place where we have nominal gains, but maybe not real ones. Anyway, what do you think about it all?
I think that's such an excellent point, Kelly. The nominal gains versus the real ones is a really important point. A lot of what we're hearing sounds inflationary. And look, Mr. President, whoever you happen to be, the independence of the Fed has to be sacrosanct. We cannot make the interest rate and monetary policy in this country political. You've got to stay out of it. You've got to let Jay Powell do what Jay Powell is doing. And as David Rubenstein said earlier, and CNBC, I think, did a great job of it, he's done a good job finally of getting us to this soft landing. It wasn't perfect, but we're where we ought to be. Inflation has to stay under control. Those who are most vulnerable suffer most from inflation. So leave the Fed alone. And if you leave the Fed alone, I think this inflationary problem and low interest rate environment stays with us for a long time. But I do worry about the long-term debt. I think that's going to have to be addressed in Congress. And I think we have to have responsible curbs on spending. We can't keep doing what we've been doing.
Jamie?
Well, I think if you think short rates are going to drop and long rates stay where they are, then, that, or it go up a little bit, I think that's still a really good recipe for stocks. I mean, you get, a steepening yield curve. That's why you see banks doing very well. But, stocks are going to like this backdrop: lower taxes, lower regulation, the prospects of, the spending continuing. So I think that's, where it's at. But I think it's not just going to be your top 7, tech stocks. This is going to help broaden out the base a little bit, where you can actually have the other 493 components of the S&P 500 participate. And with PE at 17
amen.
on those 493, that's positive, very positive.
Quick last question, Jamie. I mean, is it worth trying to think through the, would you really recommend anyone make any investing changes in anticipation of the administration, even if they knew the answer today? Again, there were a lot of things in the last Trump administration or the Biden one. Look at the solar stocks that didn't pan out the way people expected.
Stocks price off earnings. And, you need to look at your probabilities, what the earnings outlook is going to be when you're pricing your stocks and when you're making your portfolio decisions. Presidents come and go, administrations come and go, but, these companies are here to stay. And if you think about corporate management and trying to, pick out stocks for the long term, which is what most people should do, the administration is at points in time. So I say no.
I see Michael Farr, see you
Amen.
nodding. Gentlemen, thank you. Amen. Thank you both for your time today. Really, really appreciate it. Jamie Cox and Michael Farr. And